What I'm about to tell you ain't about tricks, games, or chasing somebody's attention. This right here is about energy. Because the truth is, when a woman knows her power, she doesn't beg for love, she attracts it. See, the world will tell you to act a certain way, talk a certain way, or move a certain way to keep a man. But the real secret, it's in your connection, not your body. Anybody can lay down with somebody, but not everybody can touch the soul. When you speak to a man's heart while you're right there, close, real close, you're not just sharing a moment, you're planting a memory. Real power ain't in the body, it's in the connection. Anybody can touch your body, but not everybody can reach your soul. You can make a man lose his breath with your looks, but what keeps him coming back is how you make him feel. Because after the lights go out and the world goes quiet, it's not your face or your figure that he's replaying in his mind. It's that moment when he felt a scene. When a woman looks at a man not for what he's wearing, not for what he's got, but for who he is deep down, that man changes. Something inside him softens. He finds himself trusting her without even meaning to. That's connection. That's the difference between attraction and attachment. Attraction fades when something prettier walks by. Connection doesn't fade, it roots itself inside the memory. It becomes the invisible thread that keeps pulling him back no matter how far he goes. When you understand this, you stop using your body to get attention and you start using your energy to build connection. The body might open the door, but it's the spirit that makes him stay. And it's not about pretending to be perfect or always having the right words. It's about being real. Men can feel when a woman is genuine. They can sense when she's not performing, when she's not trying to impress. The woman who listens with her whole heart, who laughs from her soul, who lets him be vulnerable without making him feel small, that's the woman who stays on his mind long after the night is over. Real power and love isn't loud. It's not about control. It's quiet, it's steady, it's felt in the pauses between words. You can tell a man 1,000 times that you love him, but the way you look at him when he doubts himself will say it louder than any sentence could. You want to reach his soul. See him when he's not his best. Stand next to him when life humbles him. Don't just love his strength, love his struggle too. Because every man has a side the world doesn't clap for, and when he shows you that side, he's testing to see if you'll stay. If you can hold space for his truth without judgment, you've already gone deeper than his body ever could. A real connection is built on presence. You don't need fancy lines or fake smiles. You just need to show up with honesty. When you talk, mean it. When you touch him, let it be with purpose. Don't touch him just to claim him. Touch him to calm him. There's a difference. The woman who touches a man with peace in her hands gives him something no one else can buy, no one else can copy. She becomes the place his mind returns to when the world feels cold. That's what it means to reach his soul. It's easy to be desired, it's hard to be understood. And that's what connection is all about. Understanding, when you understand a man's silence, when you can tell by the look in his eyes what kind of day he's had, when you know how to speak life into him instead of criticism, you've become more than a lover. You've become his sanctuary. Every man wants to feel that peace, but not every woman knows how to give it. That's what makes it powerful. It's rare. It's not something you can fake. You can't pretend connection. Your energy gives you away. And that's the secret most people miss. Real connection isn't about chemistry. It's about alignment. Chemistry gets you excited. Alignment keeps you consistent. When your spirit matches his purpose, when your peace feeds his passion, when your love doesn't drain him but drives him, that's connection on another level. That's when the relationship stops being a game and starts being growth. So if you want to hold his soul, not just his hand, stop chasing validation. Start radiating value. Know who you are. Because when you know yourself, you show up differently. You don't try to control him, you inspire him. You don't demand love, you become love. You don't just fill his bed, you fill his mind, his prayers, his plans. The woman who masters connection never has to worry about competition. She knows no one can duplicate her energy. When a man meets a woman who connects to him on that deeper level, he stops searching. The thrill of the chase ends, not because he's tired, but because he's found peace. He realizes that her touch doesn't just excite him, it grounds him. Her voice doesn't just sound good, it calms him. Her presence doesn't just make him feel wanted, it makes him feel safe. That's the kind of power that doesn't wear off. That's the kind of connection that makes him look at every other woman and think, she's beautiful, but she's not her. So no, real power ain't in the body. The body is temporary, but the connection, that's timeless. It's the conversation that lingers, the energy that stays, the feeling he can't explain but can't forget. Anybody can touch the surface. But the one who learns to reach the soul, that's the one who never has to worry about being replaced. A man remembers the woman who made him feel like home. You can be the most beautiful woman in the room, wear the finest perfume, say all the right words, but what stays in a man's heart isn't the way you look, it's the way you made him feel. Every man out there is chasing something, success, respect, money, validation. But deep down, what he's really looking for is peace. And peace isn't found in a paycheck or a new car. It's found in the presence of the right woman. When a man finds that kind of peace, he doesn't want to lose it. Because the world will exhaust him, people will test him, and life will break him in ways he'll never talk about. But when he's with you, he wants to feel like he's home again. That's the difference between being desired and being remembered. Desire fades when the moment ends, but comfort lasts long after the silence. Making a man feel like home isn't about doing everything for him. It's not about cooking his meals or cleaning his shoes or fixing his problems. It's about being a space where his soul can breathe. It's about being the calm after the chaos. When you can look at him and say, you're safe here, not with words, but with your energy, that's when he feels it. That's when the walls start to fall. Because a man who feels safe opens up. And when he opens up, that's when love grows. You see, a lot of women try to be everything a man wants, but the truth is, a man doesn't need everything. He just needs peace. He needs a space where he doesn't have to prove himself, where he doesn't have to fight for respect, where he can just be. And the woman who gives him that doesn't have to compete with anyone. Because once a man finds home, he stops wandering. He may see beauty elsewhere, but he knows beauty without peace is a storm. You can't fake that feeling. You can't act peaceful. You have to be peaceful. That means you're not always arguing. You're not always questioning his every move. You're not creating tension where there should be trust. You move with grace. You speak with intention. You know when to be strong and when to be soft. That balance is what makes a man feel safe. Because strength without softness feels like pressure, and softness without strength feels like weakness. But when you carry both, you become the kind of woman he can't forget. A man remembers the woman who made him feel seen, the one who noticed the little things, the way his eyes change when he's tired, the silence he keeps when something's wrong, the dreams he doesn't talk about because he's afraid to fail. When you pay attention to those details, you're telling him, I see you even when you're not shining. That's rare. Most people love the highlights, but few stay for the behind the scenes. And that's what makes home special. It's not perfect, but it's where you're accepted. When you give a man that kind of acceptance, it changes how he loves you back. He stops performing. He stops pretending. He starts trusting. That trust is the foundation of everything. You can't build love on attraction alone. You build it on consistency, on understanding, on presence. When a man feels that kind of presence, he'll carry you in his mind, even when you're not around. You'll become the peace he reaches for in every storm. Because love that feels like home doesn't chase attention. It creates belonging. It says, you don't have to be perfect to be loved here. And that right there is what makes him stay loyal in a world full of distractions. When you become a man's peace, you're not just his partner. You become his anchor. The one thing that keeps him steady when everything else pulls him in 100 directions. And it doesn't mean you're always calm or always happy. It means you choose love over chaos. You choose understanding over ego. You choose to listen before you react. That's what home feels like, warm, steady, safe. It's where you can fall apart and still be loved. That's what he remembers long after the passion fades. That's what keeps him coming back. A man remembers the woman who builds him, not the one who breaks him. The one who tells him, you've got this, even when he doubts himself. The one who believes in his dreams when the world doesn't. Because men don't forget the voice that spoke life into them. They remember the one who prayed for them, not just played with them. The one who added peace, not pressure. And when he's far away, when he's tempted, when he's tired of fighting, it's that woman who crosses his mind, the one who felt like home. See, every man wants to conquer the world, but he needs a place to rest when he comes back from battle. If you can be that place, not by changing who you are, but by standing in love, by giving warmth without losing yourself, you'll be unforgettable. Because at the end of the day, a man doesn't stay where the fire burns brightest. He stays where the light feels safest. He stays where he can take off the armor and still feel strong. He stays where his heart whispers, this is home. Confidence is the new sexy. It's the quiet power that walks into the room before you say a single word. It's not about the makeup, the dress, or the curves. It's about the energy that says, I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to be her. Real confidence isn't loud, it's calm. It doesn't need attention because it already carries peace. When a woman knows her worth, everything about her changes. The way she walks, the way she speaks, the way she looks at the world. She stops needing validation because she's already approved by herself. And that kind of energy, it drives men wild. Not because she's trying to impress anyone, but because she's magnetic without even trying. A confident woman doesn't chase love, she attracts it. She doesn't force conversations, she inspires them. She doesn't beg for respect, she commands it just by being present. You can tell when a woman truly loves herself. There's something different in her eyes. She's not desperate, she's not insecure, she's not performing. She's grounded. You can't shake her with doubt. You can't break her with rejection. Because she understands that her value doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from knowing she's enough, even when she's alone. And that's what separates her from the crowd. Most people are out here trying to prove themselves to the wrong ones, chasing attention like it's love, mistaking approval for affection. But confidence doesn't chase. Confidence simply is. It stands tall, it radiates assurance. It says, I'm not waiting to be loved. I already am loved. The truth is, when you love yourself, you teach others how to love you. The way you treat yourself sets the tone for every relationship that follows. If you talk to yourself with kindness, others will too. If you set boundaries with peace, others will respect them. If you walk with pride in your worth, people will either rise to meet it or fall away. And either way, you win, because confidence doesn't fear losing people. It knows that what's meant for you can't miss you. A confident woman doesn't cry over who left. She thanks God for who stayed. She doesn't look back to prove her value. She looks forward knowing her best is yet to come. Men can feel that energy instantly. It's the kind that makes them pay attention without even understanding why. A confident woman doesn't need to be the loudest one in the room. Her silence speaks volumes. She carries herself with grace. She's not threatened by other women because she knows comparison is the thief of joy. She celebrates others while staying focused on her own lane. That's what makes her stand out. The woman who isn't competing with anyone has already won. And when a man meets that kind of woman, he doesn't feel like he has to fix her or save her. He feels inspired to match her. Confidence is not arrogance, it's awareness. It's knowing your flaws and still loving yourself through them. It's saying, I've been through pain, but I'm still standing. It's walking with scars and still shining. Because real confidence is built in the fire. It comes from the battles you fought alone, the nights you cried and still showed up the next day. It's strength wrapped in softness. And that balance is what makes you unforgettable. You're gentle but firm, kind but clear, loving but not a pushover. That kind of confidence teaches others that you can't be played with because you're not desperate for attention. You're selective about energy. When you know your worth, your love hits differently. You don't love from emptiness. You love from fullness. You don't need a man to complete you. You invite him to compliment you. You're not begging to be seen. You're already shining, and whoever's meant for you will notice without you dimming your light. That's the beauty of confidence. It doesn't try to prove, it just exists. And when you walk like that, talk like that, move like that, people can't help but respect you. They might not always understand you, but they'll feel your presence long after you're gone. Confidence also changes the way you handle love. You don't settle for almost. You don't cling to half efforts. You don't confuse attention with affection. You know what real love looks like, and you're patient enough to wait for it. You'd rather walk alone in peace than together in confusion. That's not pride, that's power. The kind of power that comes from knowing you're not afraid to lose something that doesn't value you. Because confidence whispers, I am the table, and when you understand that, you stop begging for seats at tables that weren't built for you. Confidence doesn't mean you don't have fears. It means you move anyway. It means you trust yourself even when you don't have the full plan. It means you show up for yourself on the days when no one else does. Because the truth is, confidence isn't about perfection. It's about permission. Giving yourself permission to be seen, to be loved, to be enough just as you are. And when you start living like that, everything around you shifts. You attract better, you think clearer, you love deeper. You stop chasing validation and start building value. You stop asking, am I good enough? And start saying, I am. So confidence isn't just sexy, it's sacred. It's a declaration of self-respect. It's the quiet flame that says, I know what I bring, and I don't fear losing what can't handle me. And when a woman carries that kind of light, she doesn't have to demand loyalty, attention, or love. It naturally gravitates toward her because true confidence isn't seen, it's air felt. And once a man feels it, he'll never forget the woman who had it. Speak to his vision, not his ego. Every man out there has two sides, the one the world sees and the one he hides. The side the world sees is confident, loud, proud, and driven by image. That's his ego. The side he hides is the one filled with dreams, fears, doubts, and purpose. That's his vision. Most people feed a man's ego, but only a rare woman feeds his vision. And that difference decides whether she's just a moment or a memory. When you speak to a man's ego, you're telling him what he wants to hear. When you speak to his vision, you're telling him what he needs to hear. His ego makes him feel big for a moment, but his vision makes him feel seen for a lifetime. Every man craves admiration, but what he truly respects is belief. When a woman believes in his purpose, when she looks him in the eyes and says, I see something great in you, it does something to him that no compliment ever could. It awakens something inside. Because the truth is, men carry battles they never talk about. They walk around smiling while fighting doubts in silence. When you speak to his ego, you're talking to the mask. When you speak to his vision, you're talking to the man underneath. And when you do that, you don't just touch his heart, you touch his direction. You become the voice that reminds him who he's meant to be. A man's ego wants to be praised, but his vision needs to be understood. Ego feeds pride, but vision feeds purpose. If you keep praising what's on the surface, he'll stay on the surface. But if you speak to the deeper part of him, the dreamer, the builder, the protector, you help him grow into his full self. That's the kind of love that changes people. The kind that says, I don't just love what you are now, I love what you're becoming. That's when a man looks at a woman differently, because anyone can flatter him, but not everyone can inspire him. When a man is connected to a woman who feeds his vision, he starts thinking bigger. He starts dreaming again. He starts believing in himself with more certainty. That's the effect of feminine energy that uplifts instead of controls. You're not pushing him, you're pulling greatness out of him. You're not telling him who to be, you're reminding him who he already is. That's power. That's influence without pressure. Because a man's ego can get tired of constant validation, but his soul never gets tired of genuine encouragement. When you say, I know you can handle it, I believe in what you're building, I see what others don't see, those words stick. They become fuel when he's running on empty. And here's what most don't realize: when you feed a man's ego, he may thank you for it. But when you feed his vision, he'll change you for it, because ego satisfies the moment, vision transforms the future. A man may enjoy being admired, but he becomes unstoppable when he's believed in. When you speak life into him, you're not just loving him, you're leading him. You're helping him stand taller, aim higher, and move smarter. You're not controlling his steps, you're inspiring his path. And when a man feels that kind of support, his loyalty deepens. Not because he owes you, but because he honors you. Speaking to a man's vision means seeing beyond the obvious. It means seeing potential in his struggle, not just perfection in his success. It means understanding that his failures are part of his formation. When you stand beside him during those times, when you say, keep going, I still see it in you, you become the voice of strength he carries everywhere. You're not stroking his ego by pretending he's flawless. You're nurturing his purpose by reminding him that his flaws don't define him. That's the kind of woman he never forgets. Ego says, you're the man. Vision says, you're becoming the man you're meant to be. One flatters his pride, the other builds his destiny. A man's ego loves attention, but his vision craves direction. When you talk about his goals, when you ask about his passions, when you genuinely listen to what drives him, you're feeding the fire that keeps him alive. And that's where the connection deepens. Because men may act tough, but inside they're longing for someone who sees beyond their armor. They don't want to be worshipped. They want to be understood. The difference between ego love and vision love is maturity. Ego love says, I love how you make me feel. Vision love says, I love who you're becoming. I want to see you win. Ego love demands, vision love develops. Ego love competes for control. Vision love collaborates for growth. When you speak to his vision, you're not inflating his pride. You're elevating his purpose. And a man who feels that will not risk losing it. He'll protect it. He'll respect it. Because it's rare to find someone who looks at your chaos and still sees your crown. So when you talk to him, talk to the part of him that still believes. The part that's scared to fail but still tries. The part that feels unseen in a loud world. Speak to his dreams, not his doubts. Speak to his faith, not his fear. Remind him of what he carries inside. Because when you speak to a man's vision, you become part of it. You're not just another chapter. You're the reason he keeps writing. And when a man feels that he doesn't just love you, he honors you for helping him remember who he was always meant to be. The most powerful words come from peace, not pressure. Real strength doesn't need to shout to be heard, and real love doesn't need to force to be felt. When you speak from peace, your voice carries weight. It doesn't come from anger. It doesn't come from fear. It comes from understanding. When you talk to someone from a calm place, they listen differently. They don't hear noise, they hear truth. Because peace gives words a kind of authority that chaos never can. You don't have to beg to be understood when your spirit is grounded. You don't have to argue to prove your point when your tone is calm. Peaceful words can shake a room louder than screaming ever could because they carry energy that's rooted, not reactive. Pressure makes people defensive, but peace makes them open. When you talk from peace, you're not trying to win the moment. You're trying to build connection. That's the difference between power and control. Power flows naturally. Control comes from insecurity. You can't connect when you're forcing someone to see things your way. But when your energy is still, your message becomes magnetic. People feel drawn to calm energy because it makes them feel safe. And safety is what opens hearts, not shouting or threats. So when you're in a relationship, understand that peace is your greatest tool. It doesn't mean silence, it means balance. It means you know how to express without exploding, how to love without losing yourself, how to correct without condemning. Peaceful communication doesn't come from weakness, it comes from wisdom. It's the kind of maturity that says, I could react, but I choose not to. It's knowing that not every battle deserves your fire. Because when you speak from a peaceful heart, your words heal instead of hurt. You don't talk to tear someone down, you talk to lift them up. You don't use silence as punishment, you use it as reflection. That's real power, when you can control your emotions instead of letting them control you. When you respond with clarity instead of chaos, when you choose understanding over being right, that's how peace becomes your strength. You see, pressure comes from fear of being unheard, fear of being unseen, fear of being wrong. But peace comes from security. When you're secure in who you are, you don't need to push people to value you. You already know your worth. You can walk away from arguments that don't deserve your energy. You can sit in silence without feeling small. Because your confidence doesn't depend on how loud you can speak, it depends on how deeply you can stay grounded when the world tries to shake you. And that calmness, it's rare. It's what separates those who lead with emotion from those who lead with purpose. When you speak from peace, you make people listen differently. Your words don't just pass through their ears, they sink into their mind. Because peace slows everything down. It makes space for reflection, for real understanding. That's why when you talk calmly during a storm, people remember it. They remember how you handled chaos without losing control. They remember how your tone felt more than what your words said. Because emotion fades, but energy lingers. And peaceful energy leaves an impression that lasts. A peaceful heart doesn't mean you don't get angry. It means you know when to let go and when to stand firm. It means you've learned that reacting fast doesn't fix anything faster. You can love someone and still disagree with grace. You can be hurt and still choose dignity. Because peace teaches patience. It slows down the impulse to prove and replaces it with the desire to understand. That's what makes your words powerful. They're not reactive, they're intentional. Every sentence has purpose, not pain. Every response carries clarity, not chaos. The world glorifies loudness. People think shouting means strength. But true strength whispers. It's in the tone that says, I'm not angry, I'm aware. It's in the posture that says, I'm not trying to win, I'm trying to grow. That's what makes peaceful people so magnetic. They don't compete with energy, they redirect it. They don't add to the noise, they become the calm within it. And that kind of peace can't be faked. You can only carry it when you've learned to master your emotions, when you've chosen healing over reaction, when you've turned pain into purpose. In relationships, peace speaks louder than pressure ever could. When you talk to your partner from peace, you invite honesty instead of fear. You say, you can tell me the truth. You don't have to hide. And that's when real love grows, because people open up to understanding, not intimidation. When you pressure someone to love you, you push them away. But when you give them space to be, they draw closer naturally. Peace doesn't chase, it attracts. It creates a rhythm that makes love feel safe. And once someone feels safe with you, they'll never forget it. The most powerful love isn't loud, it's consistent. It's in the tone that says, I'm not going anywhere. It's in the patience that says, we can talk about it. It's in the gentleness that says, I understand that's the language of peace. And when you master that, your presence starts speaking for you. People start feeling calmer around you, more open, more trusting, because peace is contagious. When you live it, you teach it. When you embody it, you attract it. That's the real power, knowing that your calm can heal chaos that your voice can bring order to confusion, that your silence can teach louder than your anger ever could. So remember, the most powerful words don't come from a place of needing to prove. They come from a place of already knowing. They come from a heart that's still, a mind that's clear, and a soul that's settled. That's when every word you speak carries weight, not because it's loud, but because it's a true. And don't try to make them stay, make them want to stay. There's a big difference between holding on to someone out of fear and inspiring them to stay out of love. When you try to make someone stay, you move from power to panic. You start begging, proving, pleasing, shrinking yourself just to be enough for someone who's already unsure. But when you focus on being the kind of energy a man doesn't want to lose, everything changes. You stop trying to control love and start attracting loyalty, because people don't stay where they're forced. They stay where they feel free, seen, valued, and appreciated. Love built on fear fades the moment pressure enters, but love built on peace lasts because it's rooted in choice. You want a man who chooses you, not one who settles for you. When you make someone want to stay, it's not about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about what you give them materially. It's about what you make them feel emotionally. People remember peace. They remember safety. They remember how it felt to be around someone who didn't judge them, didn't compete with them, didn't drain their spirit. When you bring warmth into someone's life, they won't risk losing that. You can't make a man stay by pleading or proving, but you can make him stay by being his peace in a world that constantly challenges his strength. When you become that balance of softness and strength, that woman who believes in him but doesn't lose herself loving him, he won't go looking anywhere else. Because what you give can't be replaced by surface attraction. You don't have to fight for what's already meant for you. The moment you start forcing love, it stops feeling like love, because control kills connection. When you pressure someone to stay, they start associating you with tension. But when you release control and trust your worth, you create space for real devotion. A man stays where he feels respected, not restricted, where he feels appreciated, not obligated, where he feels wanted, not trapped. You can't demand loyalty. You inspire it. You inspire it by how you treat yourself, by the standard you set for your life, by the peace you protect in your heart. The more you value yourself, the more others value staying with you. People confuse effort with desperation. Effort is mutual, it's love in action. Desperation is one-sided, it's love and fear. When you love from desperation, you'll do anything to keep them. But when you love from confidence, you'll only do what honors both of you. That's the shift that turns attraction into devotion. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to beg for love, she's his love. She radiates it, and the right person feels it like gravity. You can't fake that kind of energy. It's in your voice, your patience, your boundaries. When you stand in your peace, people recognize they're standing next to something rare. Making someone want to stay starts with how you love yourself. When you love yourself deeply, you set the tone for how others love you. You don't tolerate chaos disguised as passion. You don't confuse inconsistency for excitement. You don't accept half efforts because you know full love exists. You create an environment where honesty is normal, where peace is sacred, where respect is mutual. And that kind of energy makes a man not only want to stay, it makes him want to grow. Because when love feels safe, people start becoming better versions of themselves. You don't have to overgive to keep someone's attention. You don't have to chase to prove you care. The ones meant to stay will meet you halfway. The ones who see your heart will want to protect it, not play with it. When you stop chasing, you start choosing. You choose peace over pain. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose presence over promises. And when you do that, the right person feels it. They realize they're not dealing with someone who's afraid to lose. They're dealing with someone who's not afraid to let go. And that's what makes them hold on tighter. Men stay where they feel appreciated, but they're loyal to where they feel understood. You can't make a man stay by being perfect, but you can make him stay by being real. Be the kind of woman who doesn't just talk about love, but lives it with patience, trust, and peace. You don't have to entertain drama to be noticed. You don't have to manipulate emotions to be loved. Authentic energy is attractive because it's rare, it's grounding, it's healing. A man who's tired of chaos will crave a woman who feels like home. Making someone want to stay is about giving them something they can't find anywhere else: your peace, your loyalty, your softness, your belief in them. It's about creating connection through consistency, not control. When he knows he can trust your energy, he'll protect it. When he knows you're not competing with him but building with him, he'll value you differently. When he knows you won't use love as leverage, he'll feel safe to give you his whole heart. That's when staying isn't an obligation, it's a privilege. The truth is, when you stop chasing what's running and start nurturing what's growing, everything changes. The right one won't make you beg. The right one will recognize your peace as a blessing. Because people don't run from peace, they run from pressure. So don't spend your energy trying to convince someone to stay. Spend it becoming the kind of peace they never want to lose. When you embody that kind of love, you don't have to hold anyone down. They'll hold themselves close, not out of fear of losing you, but out of gratitude for finding you.